Welcome back to On the Same Team. As you know, I'm obsessed with what makes a championship team tick, whether that's the on the field or in the office. To me, the best leaders are the ones who realize you can't win the big games without a culture that actually supports the people playing in them. Our guest today is the perfect example of a player first coach in the business world. Beth Trejo is the founder and CEO of ChatterKick, a remote first social media agency that started back in 2012. While most people were just trying to figure out how to go viral, Beth was focused on a much bigger goal, turning digital attention into real human relationships. She's built a powerhouse agency that supports mid market and growth stage companies. But what's even more impressive is the team she's built internally. Chatterkick is a woman-led, culture-forward company that has been named one of the best 25 small and mid-sized companies for women and recognized by Business Insider as one of the 50 best small companies to work for. Beth herself has been ranked among the top 50 CEOs for women, largely because she focuses on a system that works for real people, working parents, caregivers, and people with full lives outside of their screens. Beth, I'm excited to dive into your playbook today. Welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me. I'm excited to talk more.
Awesome. Did I mess anything up in my intro?
No, I always feel like those intros make me feel like way more cool than I probably really am. So,
Well, you're a rock star, and none of it was made up. So you are who you are, and it's pretty impressive. And excited to have you here. So, I mean, I know a little bit of like I would say like super high level Chatterkick. I know you started it, and I know like it's grown into something that is, like well known throughout the US. So, but I'd like to kind of know like where did it start? Where did like the idea of I should do a business like this come from? And like yeah, how did this thing be? How was it born?
yeah, so I never thought I would be an entrepreneur if you would have asked me. I remember telling people I don't have a very high risk tolerance. And I kind of look back on that because I was young. I started Chatterkick when I was 27. And I had a baby at home. I was working for the Siouxland Chamber of Commerce, and my background was in marketing and had worked in social media for the American Red Cross. But when I came and started working at the chamber, one of the things that I was doing was going to business and just asking them, "Hi, I'm Beth with the chamber. How can I help?" And they would just tell me their problems. It was kind of a unique part of that job. I was able to speak to decision makers and people that were leaders in their company, and they would just kind of tell me what was going on in their business. And I was able to kind of recognize some patterns, a couple of which was I needed to get the word out about my business for marketing purposes, like to sell my services or products, or to recruit people so that they come to work for me. And so I was like, oh, well, I can help. Here, you just, set up a Facebook page and make sure your website works. And it was kind of a big part of what I was doing at the chamber. And so I said, hey, I think I could do this. Like, there's these type of companies across the US, like not so much in Sioux City, Iowa, but I really wanted to build something that I thought I could help people with. And am and was stubborn enough to be like, what's the worst that could happen?
Mhm.
So I applied to a business competition locally in Sioux City. I won, I think it was $1,100 prize money, got myself a laptop, and yeah, I mean, Chatterkick was born. I started out with a partner who had started multiple businesses before. So, him and some of his team members were helping to support me so that I could just go faster. I'm definitely not a detail person, more of a visionary. And so they supported me on that end. And I thought we would be cold calling the first part of our business journey, but instead we got clients pretty quickly. And I'm really proud because one of our early clients, 14 years later, which in agency world does not even happen, but is still with us today. So
Nice.
they kind of have gone through many transitions of Chatterkick, and just the digital landscape is so different than it was 14 years ago.
Yeah, for sure. So When you started, was it, some of those connections you already had were like, oh my gosh, we heard you have a company, we can't wait to work with you. Was that kind of the birth of it, or like where did your customers come from?
Yeah, I think it was the most ideal setup to go business to business,
Yeah.
looking back, because I knew a lot of people in the community. And yes, it was definitely through connections. There was also a very big, distaste for social media with traditional agencies. It's extremely labor intensive. It doesn't really fall in the same operational category as like other digital tools, especially at that time. And so a lot of the other even ad agencies didn't want to touch social media,
Mm.
or they were kind of adding it as the you want fries with that approach. And I thought that it was its own thing. And so there was a need for sure.
Mhm. How long did it take for you to go from like, okay, this is something that works to like, oh my gosh, like I need to grow and there's enough business out there for me to like start hiring people and delegating and become a CEO and yeah, like what was kind of the evolution of that?
Yeah, so I think there was two or three main um, things that one led me to be successful and kind of turning points. So the first was the fact that the person that I had started Chatterkick with had kind of like a chief of staff that was paired next to me, both physically, like we shared an office, as well as like supported all of our back end finance, admin. And that alone let me go faster because I'm not good with that. And those people are expensive to hire. And so to be able to have that as like part of my, kind of support system with my partner was very, very valuable at the time. So I didn't have to like hire that role. I
Hmm.
then started having some interns, which were helpful, and it was kind of, could supplement the work that I was doing because it was really just me doing the work. And one of the accounts that we landed was a franchise with 170 some locations. So the work got fast within like weeks. like I think we had like 5 or 6 customers, including one as a franchise, within the first 3 to 4 months.
Well,
Also at that time, um, I had found out I was pregnant like 2 weeks after I quit my job at the chamber. So I was horribly exhausted, nauseous, could not go as fast as I wanted to. And then I found out I had a complicated pregnancy. So that just like threw everything for a loop. But I ended up then um, having an intern and having some contractors that kind of supported me. And then I think it was probably a year in that we ended up hiring that person full time, which was a really scary thing. Like I remember thinking like I can handle like fluctuations of, paychecks or whatever, but now I have someone who's like looking forward to it and I never wanted to jeopardize that. Like I
yeah,
wanted to make sure every single month or week or whatever they were going to get paid. So that was nerve-wracking for sure.
yeah, yeah, it's a big responsibility. And yeah, I mean, but I would say probably the reason that you were nervous is probably also the reason that you're a great boss, right? Like you wanted
Yeah, I didn't
that
want to.
person to have a great experience, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, and
yeah,
I mean
pretty
it's
awesome.
it's one of those things that people can tell you all day long, like you need to hire people so that you can do higher value things. But it's still, as a business owner and an entrepreneur, it's nerve-wracking because, like I said, you don't want to mess it up for them and they don't know all of the things, nor do they have control over all the things that you're making decisions on in the back end. So it was, it was tricky for a while of just trying to get into that cadence.
Yeah. Did you know like your business partner was a good fit for you, or you like they were just somebody that was had believed in my vision, or like it sounds like it was a great fit, but like how was that going into it? And was there like a um, just like a figuring out process of like this is the type of partner I want, or is it like, oh, that was kind of lucky, I got the right person and we were a great fit for each other? Like, what was that experience like? I'm just curious with, if somebody's trying to start a business and they're thinking I should have a partner because I'm not good at everything.
Yeah, so that was interesting. So I had met my initial business partner through the Young Professionals Network, and at that time there was multiple people within that group that were kind of starting businesses or had started businesses. And I think for me, that person and kind of the value that they brought was confidence, because I don't know if I would have just done it on my own. It was like, oh,
Mhm.
I got you. Like I remember that's what he said. He's like, oh, I got your back. And I was like, I don't know what that means, but someone there is, helping me out. And because he had started a lot of businesses before, we did have his expertise of like making sure we had legal agreements, and everything was as though we were starting a bigger company than we kind of were in the beginning. um, and it just so happened that time went on, and I was able to buy that partner out. And those transactions can get dramatic. They can get exhausting. The negotiations can be a big thing. Um, but I do think that like we were on the same page, and I really value what he brought to the table when I started Chatterkick, and so the separation wasn't dramatic. Like it was as best as you could imagined it going, at least in my view.
Mhm.
But another like fun fact is then I had the business for a while independently, and ended up selling it to a private equity group or private kind of investment group in another market, and it was going well. We scaled up. This was like big stage that we wanted to get over. We were about 6 employees. I think in 6 months we went to like 20. And that then ended, that relationship ended. And then I bought the company back. And that didn't, there was a lot of kind of drama in some of those, those instances, because it was a much different uh, kind of business at that time.
Yeah, and yeah, and like I've been in some partnerships, and I don't think I'm a good partner. I'm a shitty partner, honestly. And it's because just the way I operate, like I don't operate with contracts, and and I have, like I think I have a pretty good memory, and that kind of like doesn't work in my favor with partnerships a lot of times because I remember everything you said, and it's like you said this, and that's what I'm gonna hold you to. And I know that's not in the contract, but and that makes me a horrible partner. It doesn't make the other person a horrible partner. I've realized that. Like that's me, like if I would just listen and read the contract and do what the contract says, I'd be a better partner. But I'm not, and so I'm like, I'm never getting in a partnership anymore because like my perception is not great when I get into there. And I would operate without one. I actually have a partnership right now with somebody, and there's no contract, and I'm like, this is
You're
stupid, but it's
wild.
just I'm an idiot, but like it's just the way it is. And I don't know, I need to, and obviously I'm really dumb because I haven't learned my lesson. I did it again, but this is it. I'm never doing another one. I'm out. No more partnerships with this guy. But yeah. So you're scaling. How many people in you? Correct me if I'm wrong, but you don't have an office space anymore, correct?
Nope, we're totally remote. So when we opened another office in the South, so in Baton Rouge, Louisiana,
Hmm.
at one time we had two primary offices, Sioux City and then Baton Rouge, and then we had some people move, so then we let a couple people go remote, um, and then we were like half remote, half in person. Once I bought the company back, we had people that still stayed with us from the Baton Rouge market, but we kind of shut the office down there. So we were kind of evolving before COVID hit. And then COVID hit. We had the office for a couple years after that, and we just found ourselves not going in because we were kind of letting it be optional. And then it was like, what are we doing? So we went all remote.
Yeah. What was like, I guess the the reason that you kept it as long as you did? Like, like where were you like, okay, like this is why we need it. And like, later on you found out that's not true. But like what were your assumptions why you kept it as long as you did?
I think we know like this, it is so true that in-person connections matter. Like we 100%, all of our company believed that. I think we assumed that people would put more intentionality, myself included, about going to the office, but it just became like an afterthought, like, oh, I just didn't think about it, or, we didn't want to put real strict requirements on it. And so it was kind of the thing of we know it's true, but our behavior wasn't matching that, like as individuals. And again, Luis and I, my husband who works with me, were two of the people in our market. So we just had ideas for this space, but we're busy running the business. And so it was just one of those things that we loved our space. It was so cool. But it just wasn't making sense for where we were at as a business.
Yeah. Do you do you still meet as a team and do you still meet with clients or like and what's that look like when you don't have a physical space?
Yeah, so every year we do a in-person retreat, which is really important to us. So we all get together and we'll rent a house or we'll rent, some space, and we spend almost a week together just connecting and regrouping, getting to know each other. So that part is like critical. And then for clients, we just fly. We fly. We have people all over the country, both clients and team members. And so we just make it work as much as possible.
Hmm. When you're doing your team retreats, like how do you kind of like say, all right, this is what we're going to do it, and this is what we're going to do? Um, like how does that organization work?
Yeah, so we have a committee, and then we have some like idea of what's worked in the past. We have the team that we have now has we have a pretty good tenure, so most of them have already been on some form of retreat. So we have a good understanding of, what do we want to try differently this year, or what do we want to, do the same. And then we have people assigned to like picking locations, giving feedback. Do you want to share a room? Like there's a lot of like logistics. It's a big event to plan, really. It
Yeah.
is. It's bigger than I ever thought. And then we try to have enough downtime so people don't feel like it's too much. And like our whole point is like just connecting with your friends, teammates, the people that you work with, um, as well as like some organized events. And we'll do some like work stuff as well.
So is it just the people that are employed by Cheddar Kick or spouses? No, just employees.
Just employees, yes. Some of our retreats we actually did allow spouses, so it kind of mixed and matched. There was a time when we did the retreats in the beginning that everybody was new, or it felt like everybody was new because we hadn't like met some of our teammates in person. So those
Yeah.
retreats looked a little bit different than what we have today, which is more like our team's very comfortable with each other. A lot of them are friends outside of work as well, so it's easier now. In some
Hmm.
regards.
Yeah. So like if you were when you if you would like, I guess just go back in time and let's say your first retreat, what advice would you have for yourself?
Um, that we probably don't need to overthink it. Like, I think we planned a lot of like organized events and we booked them pretty tight, and it was pretty exhausting for everybody, even the extroverts. Um, and I think this last couple, we actually have kept the schedules a little bit lighter, and the feedback from the team has been positive. So I think people just need time to regroup. And duh, I mean, that makes sense.
Hmm.
But we over planned in the beginning than where we
Yeah.
probably do today.
Yeah. Yeah. Thanks. Give me an example of a place that you went.
Well, last year we went to Yankton. Actually,
Okay.
it's on the Crofton side. So our family has a lake house up there, and we rented some units. They had a view of the lake. A lot of people never go there. Like it's not a destination that gets a lot of tourism, but it felt special and connected to like who we were as a company, and also like people like to hike and be outside. So there was kind of a good mix of local feel versus and
Hmm.
also like getting to see part of the country that maybe a lot of our team members wouldn't see.
Yep. Yep. And then well, like something like that, did you fly them into Omaha or Sioux Falls and then
Yep.
Uber down, or you're like, oh, we drive them?
We got rental cars. It's kind of
Yeah.
interesting because some of our people do live still regionally. Like we have quite a
Yeah.
few people that are like, I would say half of us are somewhat within driving distance. Um, And then we have some people that are just like road warriors, like they come from Michigan or Ohio, and they're like, I just want to drive. So they drove.
Cool.
So we had plenty of
Yeah.
vehicles.
Do you, and I asked this question because I'm very curious, like, was there ever an employee or an instance where you're like, that relationship was actually better when it was 100% virtual?
Um, no, I don't think
Okay.
because we were on calls with each other so much, and we are pretty open and transparent with each other. I don't know if it's because we're primarily all women or we did some pretty deep work with a consultant with like um, getting to know each other, respecting each other, a lot of, just like tolerance work. And so that really opened our team up at the same time when a lot of people were coming into the company. So I feel like sometimes I've gotten deeper with my coworkers than I have with some of my good friends.
Yeah. Yeah. That's interesting. And I just asked that because I have a few employees that I've never met personally. And, like, I'm like, I love our relationship right now. I'm like, I'm scared to like mess it up, like they
Yeah,
might find out like, this guy sucks, actually. I don't like him. He was better virtual. So
yeah.
it's like a little bit of fear there.
I've never found that to be the case, but like I said, um, maybe I've just got lucky. It
Yeah.
has been funny to see people's height. Because one of my employees is like she shows up on video and she's, you know, lovely. And then she's like 6'1", and I did not know that. And so I was completely wrong. Like I thought she was going to be this petite little person, and she's tall. And so that was kind of fun.
Yeah. Yeah. I would say I had the same experience. I met one of my employees for the first time a month ago, and, both of our impressions were like, dang, you're big. Because he's about the same size as me, and he's
Yeah.
like, I didn't think you'd be that big. And I'm like, oh, that's awesome. So it was pretty fun, but yeah, that's awesome. Well, I appreciate you sharing that. I mean, I think, in our world, like I have about half my teams is remote, and so that experience of bringing everybody together is something that I've been thinking about a lot, and I've not acted on. Um, I just seen another person that posted that they're doing something like this, and
Mhm.
they're bringing in spouses, and
Mhm.
they're going to do like a formal ball, and they're going to like let people rent tuxes and stuff. And I was like, whoa, that's not me. Like that is not my vision at all. But I love the idea of getting everybody together, but like that the formal ball thing, like that's not where I would do more like a hike, like that'd be fun. Like I envision myself being somewhere that's nice and you can be
Yeah.
outside and you can, yeah, go for a walk together and talk about family. And yeah, that would be where I'd want to spend my time with my team. And yeah, it's pretty cool though.
And I think like you really, in the beginning, the early ones, you kind of want to be conservative on like your assumptions of how people, like to interact, specifically like physical closeness,
Yeah,
shared living spaces, shared spaces in general, right? Like in the beginning, like hotels felt more
appropriate.
respectful for people.
Hmm.
And the option to bring spouses. This is what they can attend, and this is what like we want just our team to attend. So there was a lot of that I think we made the right call in the beginning. And now that our team knows each other, maybe we'll only have one or two new people. It feels less like that because we kind of have a good idea of like, okay, we'll ask this person their preferences, but this is kind of what's worked for us.
Yeah, yeah. Have you ever had anybody opt out?
Yes, primarily travel
Yeah.
restrictions or babies. We had five
Yeah.
babies last year. We have had every year we have like 3 to 5 babies. So maternity leaves, health situations, people's spouses having babies. But I would say we only have maybe two or three not able to attend a year.
Yeah. Yeah. That's pretty cool though.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, and kind of we got into this just because of the virtual, work experience. Like, what are some of the things that maybe surprised you that, maybe go better when people are virtual and something that you're like, wow, I didn't expect to have to really focus on this and make sure that we keep track of it, but we do.
Yeah. So I would say the things that surprised me when we went fully virtual is how hard it was when we were hybrid. That was by far the most difficult. It was a lot easier if we were all virtual or all in person. When we had multiple offices plus some people virtual, it felt like there was divisions and like connections that weren't equitable across the country, the company.
Like culturally, like
Yeah,
yeah.
because it was like everybody didn't have digital equity, right? So even if we were like around a conference table, you couldn't always see my face if I was at the back of the conference table. And so one of the things we did in the beginning was said, okay, everybody gets their own square. Even if we're in office and we're zooming into our fellow coworkers in another location, everybody had to have their own square so that we could have the feeling that like it wasn't just one person that was left out or excluded. So that's kind of how we solved that, and that did help, but it still was hard. Two
Hmm.
offices plus virtual was hard. When we went virtual, it became easy in the sense that like everybody was the same, right?
Yeah.
We had to definitely set standards and things that were accepted as well as what wasn't. So, for example, we are really loose with letting kids be in the background. Like, I don't think we should punish people for the way that they're living their lives with their children. And sometimes that means their kids stay home and they're making it work. So, as long as, like, the work is great, I hire grown-ups and grown-ups can figure it out themselves. But I don't think that as women we should feel like we have to hide our children in the background or pets or whatever. So we're pretty casual on that. But that's just how we show up
Hmm.
to our clients, and we do not apologize for that. And then, but if we didn't set those standards, I think that's when things start getting out of control. Someone told me a really great quote once, and I think this is a perfect example for remote work, but is unset expectations are planned resentments. And so if you don't lay out what your expectations are, I think that's when things get hairy as it relates to like trust and who's working and how's the time being logged and all of that.
Hmm. I'm thinking through what you said. I'm I feel like maybe as an organization, um, I'm possibly like kind of hard on people about the background noise a little bit.
Mhm.
Um, and I'm just working through in my own head, and maybe I should do this when we're not on a podcast. But like we talked, like would you say like you have strong relationships with your clients, and like if they don't respect that, then you're like, well, we don't need you as a client. Um, or like how do you navigate that? Because I would say that would be my worry, and I feel like the reason you know, I'm like, hey, just take a break. Like, I don't care if you take a half hour, just don't answer the phone when your kid's there because, you just that's kind of how I approach it. But yeah, I mean, I wish I could be more flexible, honestly. And I'm just kind of curious, yeah, like how you navigate that where, you don't apologize. And I love that, and how does that, is it just like we have a good relationship with our customers, or how do you do that?
I think it really is a matter of like coaching to expectations, right? So like not saying that like you can like do anything that would jeopardize the client. Like we want our clients to feel like we prioritize them.
Yeah.
So, but I leave it up to the employee in most cases to like what that looks like to them. So if you have a messy background and your house is a disaster, not shaming you, but put a blur up or put a background up that maybe isn't going to distract from your advice that you're giving to the client. Or if it's very different from an internal meeting if a baby's crying as opposed to if it's a client meeting. And so I think it's for client meetings, we do expect our team to be like professional and responsible. And like, I don't love a bed in the background, right? But sometimes that's people's office. So just put a virtual background on.
Hmm.
So it's just kind of like training and teaching. And then once everybody kind of saw the norm, I feel like it rolls a lot easier.
Yeah.
Um, but none of this is ever solved, right? There's always going to be an example that you're like, oh, in my head, this wasn't ideal, and then in someone else's said it was.
Yeah. Yeah, that's the truth. And Yeah. I mean, so yeah, I mean, I love you. You love your saying that like you hire adults, right? And you hire professionals, and like they you have an expectation of them, and they should have an expectation of themselves. And when that works out, then everybody kind of gets along, and things just go as they need to, and get a little one-offs here and there, right? Where you're like, hey, throw up a background. Not a big deal. Just throw up a background, right?
Right.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, what do you think is like virtual, one of the biggest challenges you're going to face going forward, and just something you're thinking about to continue to like make it work or to make it better?
Yeah, I think to make it work is really like there's less micro connect corrections in virtual, right? Because I don't see you in my
Yeah.
virtual coworker what you're doing. So you could be going down a rabbit hole or a path that is completely not correct, and I'm not going to see it until it's done. Or, like, so there is a part of virtual work that the systems really need to support, whether that's your operational systems, your technology systems, or your people systems. You definitely need tools and tactics, and then holding those tools accountable so that you have visibility. Because I think that's
Mhm.
one of the biggest challenges. It's just visibility. It's visibility into systems, people. Sometimes it becomes too late because you can't like visually see them. And we've had things not work out. Like,
Yeah.
don't I've seen my share of problems.
Yeah.
But I do think that it supports people in ways that we probably never realized people needed support as well. So,
Yeah.
you
Do you
know,
think like your bar for what you consider a professional that you'd hire is up here instead of down here because you're like I can hire anybody because we're virtual and
yeah.
so I can be super like hey you have to be up here if I'm going to hire you.
Yeah, I mean, I think definitely access to talent does increase. And it's not even just the skills that people have, it's like being able to bring on people that you either trust or you know they work hard. And being a hard worker doesn't mean you have to operate at 100% at all times, but if they're honest, they're transparent, they'll do good for you and the company. That means a lot, and it's worth a lot to
Yeah.
businesses.
Do you find yourself like when you look on your team are like most of them referrals or like the Indeed hires or like where is your mix out of the people that are part of your team now?
We have such a random group of like where people came from. Everything from, I mean, my best friend from high school works with us and has for like 8 years. My
Hmm.
husband works with us. My cousin works with us. We have two other siblings, not related to me, that work together. We have some referrals from other working environments. We have some people that came completely cold to us, just by one gal wrote an awesome email and we weren't even hiring, but I'm like, I want to hire this person. And so it's really been a mix of people
Hmm.
over the years. We've found some of our newer talent from other markets. We have a couple people from Latin America, and it's been great. I love the perspective that it brings. I love the diversity, and we doesn't matter. They're working on clients in Sioux City from somewhere else
Yeah.
or anywhere in the world.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think what you said about, people that work hard and are trustworthy, yeah, I mean, it just kind of crosses wherever, right? It doesn't really matter who they are, where they're from. I mean, once you get that, it's like, oh man, this is awesome. And I would say like we have an employee that's flying in this weekend, um, and like she's worked for me for 2 years, and she's such a hardworking and I just trust her so much, um, but she's so much different than everybody else on my team,
Yeah.
and we're all so pumped like for her to be here because we're like, gosh, she's so interesting to us because she's so much different than us, and she comes from a different, just everything's different, and that's like yeah, I mean, obviously, I love that she's so hardworking and I can trust her, but I also love that, brings diversity to our team because the reality is my team in Sioux City, there's no diversity, right? And I wish there was, and it's like once we hire outside of Sioux City, like we can find some more diversity too. And, people used to give me crap when I was coaching wrestling, like, you have no diversity on your team. And I'm like, it's not my fault. I just recruit within 2 hours of where I live, and like there's just no diversity where I'm at, and I wish there was, but it's so hard, and it's kind of hard to talk somebody into like coming to Sioux City sometimes. So,
Yeah.
once I do find some diversity, it's hard to get them here. So yeah, I agree. Like, um, that stuff is awesome. It's a huge part of, yeah, I think building like a truly well-rounded team that can service, a bunch of different customers because, our customer base is diverse and it's like super important. Yeah.
Yeah. I know that we got better the more perspectives and types of just lived experiences we brought in. I think people don't know what to do because I didn't know what to do. And I was like, I feel like, I want to expand in who we're recruiting. And again, we worked with an amazing consultant that helped us figure out why are we not just attracting talent from other markets? Why are we not attracting talent that aren't, 22-year-old marketing women? Like, where can we be better? And it was a huge game changer in terms of like how we developed content, where we posted our job listings. So, yes, I would agree. I think diversity makes so many things better, but especially when it comes to the way that you can show up for your customers and your team.
Yeah. Yeah. What was, like where do you see, growth coming at in the future as far as like, you know, opportunities to bring in talent or to find talent and help, your business continue to grow?
So I think marketing is an interesting space right now, as are many businesses, just with the introduction of AI. And I don't think that we're just gonna like close our eyes and marketing agencies will be gone. But I
No.
think that we need to constantly think about what is adding the most value to customers in this moment. And that's what we're really obsessed with is, with our skill set and the lens that we come at, which is oftentimes a mix of buyer psychology, sales enablement, traditional marketing, as well as just the digital landscape. How can we add that value to clients in a way that is easy for them to buy? Like, that is the question that I am trying to solve every single day. Like, research, trying new things, talking to new people, talking to my team, listening to customers. And so that's where I think a lot of our growth will come in the future. From a talent perspective, it will be interesting to see how talent aligns with business growth because I think it's going to change from what we've historically looked at that in the past. Like, I think that I know companies are growing top line without headcount. Like, that is where a lot of companies are looking right now. And so I want to be able to be curious to that without like not supporting young talent, making sure that we have a pipeline. We're still bringing people in the way that is effective. So I don't have all the answers, but that's
Yeah.
kind of what I'm thinking at.
Yeah. It's very interesting. Like, um, yeah, things are evolving quickly, right? And, I always tell my team, like, that's for me, I think about it in the positive side of, I always like told my wrestlers, like, too, the harder the moment is, typically the better opportunity you have, right? Like, that's where 90% of people are going to fall out, right? And if you
Right.
want to be a one percenter, like, that's good for you. And so, like, this is kind of an interesting time and things are going to change. But if you're the one that can evolve and adapt and, everybody else is like, this is too scary to keep going, then, it actually gets easier on the other side. And now you're the one of one and you're the only one that made it through that. So, like, to look at it from a positive standpoint and say, like, oh man, this is a great opportunity that we're going through this time where no one knows what's going to happen because if I'm just able to adapt and stay positive and focused and dialed in on bringing people value, like it's going to get easier on the other side, and everyone's going to say like, "You're so lucky," and like, "You're so lucky to be, alive at that time," and but the reality is like everybody else is like, "This is the worst time, right? I wish it
Yeah.
wasn't like this," and you're just able to withstand it a little bit longer. So yeah, it's going to be interesting, but yeah, I think there's going to be even more opportunity for the people that just live it and appreciate it and keep going. So yeah,
Yeah,
but
I
who
think
knows?
we're in an interesting spot in social media because we never got a heads up on change like social media did, and it's always changing. And so I really feel like my team is very change supportive. And so I do think that we're positioned well because most of the like AI projects actually fail because not the technology, but it's change management. And we're a small enough company, things change, we can pivot. I would be nervous if I was a larger company that never changed and had systems and processes that were really difficult to change, whether that's compliance, regulation, etc. I feel like I'm fortunate that we're not in that same boat because those type of companies need a longer runway to make decisions.
Yeah, that's a good point. One of the things that I wanted to hit on is, you know, there was something I read or I don't know where it was, but it might have been in your bio about um, I don't know if it was like your willingness to experiment with leadership or yeah, kind of what the wording was, but like just your idea of like you're not afraid to experiment and try things out. Like can you elaborate on that a little bit? Maybe in your leadership style, but also in just like your business and kind of where you've experimented with that and win or loss, what it's done for you.
Yeah. I mean, when I started Chattercake, I was young, naive. I had not had a lot of direct management experience, and I was trying to build and manage at the same time. So I made a lot of mistakes. I made a lot of mistakes in my communication styles, in my decisions of like structure, capacity. There's so many things that like if I could go back, I probably would have done it differently, or even just now I do very differently because I've learned. But I do think that our egos are the antithesis of being a good leader, and we have to check ourselves
Hmm.
because if we don't realize why we're making decisions or how we're showing up, I think that that is when things get dicey. um, making the decisions because I said so, or I want to, you know, elicit power or control. And I get it. Like, I see my brain do that stuff. And it's like, okay, take a step back. Why is this a problem? Why does this matter to you? Is this a business problem? Is this a personal preference? And so I think that has helped me be a little less reactive in leadership, which is where I definitely used to be all the time. And then like leaning into the things that I do well and making sure I support myself with people that do other things well.
Hmm.
Because that is a huge part of growing a business. And I think growing as a person.
Yeah. I had a guest on and you know he said similar thing. Like he was so naive when he got into it, but he made the comment of like, I think that's like kind of a superpower because if you knew how hard it was going to be and how many mistakes you were going to make, you would never do it, right? Like you'd be like, well, that's I'm not doing that. I'm not going through that. But the reality is, you don't know how hard it's going to be. You don't know how many mistakes you're going to make. You have this belief that you're just going to do it right. And so you do it, and then you're like, "Oh my gosh, I'm horrible at this." But you're willing to learn, and it becomes a passion, and you're kind of willing to go through anything at some point. So I was like, that was a great viewpoint of like naivety is a superpower, and if you want to do scary, great things, like you kind of need a little bit of it.
Yeah. I mean, and I think it's just really understanding what leadership is versus management. And I think that that was really hard for me in the beginning. I definitely feel like I have way more confidence as a leader and not as much as a functional manager because it just requires different skill sets, documentation, a pace that was so slow to me at times that I was like, oh my gosh, figure this out. Like, because I am not a great, like that kind of coach, right? But I can inspire. And so those are the things that I should be doing and not so much of the, hey, did you remember to do this? Did you remember to do this? you know?
Yeah, yeah, definitely. Yeah, have you read Rocket Fuel?
Mm-mm. Oh, I've heard of it. I haven't read it though.
Yeah, I mean it's yeah, I read it. My coach gave it to me, and like it was a really good book because it talks about being a visionary and being what's the other word? Uh, Integrator.
Yeah.
Just like the two different styles, right? And when you have two people that are opposite that work together, like you just get more done. And I was like, all right, that's good to know, and I can lean into that, right? And I think it gave me confidence. Like, oh, geez, like I don't need to be good at everything. I just need to realize what I'm good at and hand everything else off.
Yeah. And in the beginning, you don't have that luxury. You know what I mean?
No.
And you don't have the luxury to lose clients at times. So there is there is a balance. And I do think in the beginning it was so much harder and the pressure was so hard. You know, going back to those first hires, you do whatever the client wants, even if it means, X, Y,
Yeah.
and Z, because you're like, well, I need these clients. You grow and then you learn, and you're like, okay, I can find the balance. I understand how this works now. I understand the levers and where I need to take a hard stance with our clients and where our clients need to be like, okay, they win this with the team. So I don't think there's one clear cut answer, but the longer that I've done this, the more I realize what really matters in that.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. I got a couple questions for you before I get you out of here. Um, what is something that you feel like is a daily habit that's helped you be successful?
Oh, from the most inconsistent person of all time. Um, I I don't know if this is a good thing, but I try to get to inbox zero every day. And when I say that, I have so many channels that messages are coming in. I have Slack, Teams, our project management channels, email. There's a lot of communication, but I want to make sure that I at least am getting back to people and acknowledging that, the steps are in place. So I try to do that on a regular basis.
Yes. What is a book you'd recommend to anybody?
Oh, I am so bad at like reading books, especially business books.
Oh, it can be a fiction book. Yeah, I've had a bunch of people give me like their favorite fiction book too.
Oh, now that's even like I actually don't even know the last book that I read.
No fiction, huh?
Um, let's see. I don't think this is an actual book because I listen to podcasts like all the time. So that's where how I consume a lot of my information. Um, but if people have not read the traction books or the EOS operating system, those are ones that I have read and they do help. And I wish I
Hmm.
would have had them earlier, those tools, because it is about that integrator and visionary role. It's about accountability. It's making sure your meetings have purpose. And those books, or even just the systems themselves, are really valuable.
Nice. If you could spend a day not working, what would you be doing?
Oh, also a problem of mine. But I just like when in the summertime, I'd be in the pool, just floating on my floaty, drinking up the sunshine.
Nice.
I love just relaxing by the water.
Nice. Awesome. Thank you. Appreciate you getting on here, Beth.
Yeah,
You
thank
are
you. This is
obviously a
fun.
rock star and grateful. I think, yeah, anybody that I feel like most people probably have people virtual these days, but like, and I always say like I'm grateful for the opportunity to have a business where I can have people that are virtual. You know, I have an aunt that runs a service business, right? And it's all like you've got to be in person, and like that. I'm just like, man. that would be hard, right? Like
It
I
is.
I can't imagine how hard it is for her to find people and to, do that. And I'm like, yeah, I think virtual is such an awesome thing. And when people get open to it, like I don't know how you can find how much value there is in that. And
Yeah.
same thing for the employees too. Like my employees are so grateful that they have the opportunity to work virtual, and you know, that's a cool thing. So appreciate all your insights, giving people like what is it, 13 years of experience in an hour.
Yeah.
Is that how long you've been have Chatterkid? Is that right? Or 14
14,
years?
14 years. Yeah.
Yeah, nice. Awesome. Well, thanks again, Beth. Have
All
a
right.
great weekend. Bye.